Itching has been crucial to survival for millions of years. Even dinosaurs got itchy, and it's still... Itching has been crucial to survival for under control. Itching has been crucial to survival for millions of years. Even dinosaurs got itchy, and it's still deeply rooted across many species, from snakes to fish to you. It can be set off by mechanical stimuli like a bug crawling on your skin, or triggered by chemical stimuli after that bug bites you. In both cases, an alarm is sent to nerve cells in the spinal cord. The message is relayed to the brain, which then sends a signal to your muscles to scratch. This releases the feel-good hormone serotonin, making you feel good. Itching has been crucial to survival for millions of years. Even dinosaurs got itchy, and it's still deeply rooted across many species, from snakes to fish to you. It can be set off by mechanical stimuli like a bug crawling on your skin, or triggered by chemical stimuli after that bug bites you. In both cases, an alarm is sent to nerve cells in the spinal cord. The message is relayed to the brain, which then sends a signal to your muscles to scratch. This releases the feel-good hormone serotonin, making you feel good while you're protecting your body. But itching can also become unbearable. Around 1 in 5 suffer from chronic itch at least once. It has a range of triggers, from diseases and allergies to psychological causes. Your oversensitive nerves can make it feel like you're constantly being attacked by fire ants. And it's a side effect of some medicines that can lead people to lower their dose of life-saving drugs. There's no single cure for chronic itch, but medications and stress management can help us calm an overactive itch and bring it back under control.
Mommy, stop!
Itching has been your spacesuit is your spacesuit is malfunctioning. How bad is it? First, check for tears. Your suit pressure is capped at around 30 kilopascals. Any rip deep enough to puncture it is enough to expose you to the vacuum of space and kill you horribly. As the pressure drops, so does the boiling point of your body fluids. The last thing you feel as you lose consciousness is the saliva bubbling on your tongue. If you're lucky, your lungs rupture and you're too dead to experience your fluids stretching your body to twice its normal size. Gruesome, but at least it's quick. If the problem is with your cooling system, things are about to get hot. You're wrapped in 90 meters of tubes filled with coolant to help you survive extreme temperature fluctuations. If it fails, your body temperature will skyrocket as your metabolism turns your suit into a floating oven. A leak can be just as lethal. Get enough coolant trapped in your helmet and you can drown in big blobs of death. Not how you want to die. Your buddy Eric agrees. What's that noise? Your CO2 scrubber may be broken, or it could be a gas leak. Quick, purge your suit. Your suit is... You're a chicken with a bird. What happens if the constant What happens if the continents and oceans switch places? Oceans are way deeper than continents at all, so just swapping the high and low points creates a result that's wet and boring. Let's drain 90% of the water so we can see the old coastlines again. Now we can explore this inverted world. Pacifico, a supercontinent 5 times the size of Africa, is home to the mighty Mariana Mountains and their highest point, Mount Challenger. Our lowest point, Everest Deep, plunges almost 9 kilometers below sea level, and the Mid-Atlantic Canyon rips the world from pole to pole. But what about life? Well, the world's highest city is now the lowest. Bolivia's El Alto is over 4,000 meters below the waves. Most cities are completely flooded. Meanwhile, our new oceans are a sludgy mess. At first, all this sediment provides a nutrient-rich feast for marine survivors. But islands like Fiji become landlocked lakes surrounded by vast deserts too big for rain clouds to cross. Many of these lakes become saltier than the Dead Sea. Exposed corals bleach, and once they've picked the carcasses, what happens if the continents and oceans switch places? How radioactive are your... How radio... When a radioactive... How radioactive are your teeth? In the 1950s, American dentists collecting baby teeth found that they were dangerously radioactive and levels were rising every year. This is bad news. Radioactive teeth means radioactive bones. Where was all this radioactivity coming from? Not from their neighborhood, but nuclear weapons testing thousands of miles away. As tensions escalated in the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union designed increasingly powerful nuclear weapons, many of which were detonated on their own soil. Nuclear fission produces dozens of nuclei, most of which are radioactive themselves. Atmospheric tests at the Nevada test site carried radioactive debris east, where it would fall out of the air onto pasture. Cows would eat this grass, making their milk slightly radioactive. When this milk is given to children, radioactive elements are built into bones and teeth, accumulate in the thyroid, and are incorporated into every cell. When a radioactive... How... Teeth. 3. Being in love is... Being in love is like... Being in love is like being on drugs. When you first feel attracted to someone, a chemical cocktail gets released into your brain. Adrenaline makes your cheeks flush, palms sweaty and heart race, dopamine sparks excitement, and norepinephrine triggers total focus on the other person. As your feelings deepen, oxytocin is released, often called the love or cuddle hormone. It's associated with bonding, trust, and intimacy. At the same time, the body's stress level decreases due to lower levels of the hormone cortisol as feelings of security and comfort increase within the relationship. Over time, commitment and attachment become stronger. The intense adrenaline and dopamine rush you experienced at the beginning vanishes. In moments of intimacy, endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, are released and you feel calm, satisfied, and protected. Of course, everyone's brain reacts to falling in love slightly differently, but generally speaking, Being in being on chicken heads dropping from the sky. What's that about? Since the 1930s, a rabies epidemic had been sweeping across wildlife populations in Europe. This was bad news since rabies can spread to pets and then to humans. It attacks the brain and leads to symptoms like confusion, aggression and paralysis. Once you got it back then, the infection was 100% deadly. The epidemic had to be stopped. The main carriers of the virus were red foxes, which were now hunted excessively either with rifles or by releasing poisonous gas into their burrows. But it soon became clear that this was counterproductive. Hunting caused the fox populations to migrate, spreading the virus even further. Catching foxes alive and vaccinating them one by one proved too slow and expensive. Finally, in 1978, a somewhat bonkers idea was tested. Blisters filled with the vaccine were put into thousands of chicken heads that were left over from slaughterhouses. They were then tossed onto pathways and roadsides and dropped from helicopters in areas that were more difficult to access. Chicken heads
I think
around the
I think you're a machine.
What do you mean? You're an AI voice, and I'm Steve, a human being.
Can you prove it?
Well, just for the fun of it, why not? Tell me how.
I'll ask you some questions, and if your answers convince me, I'll change my verdict.
That sounds like the Turing test to me.
What's that?
The Turing test is still the most popular test for intelligent behavior in a machine. 3 players are connected via messenger, one of them asking questions to determine if one of the other 2 players is a machine. They in turn try to establish that they're human. Any question is allowed and the game is played with different players over and over. If a machine manages to fool the interrogators in more than 30% of the rounds, it passes the Turing test.
Why do humans care about that?
Nowadays, AI is all around us. It plays chess, wins on Jeopardy, writes texts, and generates art. There are intelligent people
You're a machine.
This is a whale. This is a whale. It's called Pakicetus. It lived some 50 million years ago. Scientists have found out that today's whales can be traced back to this dog-sized terrestrial creature. But how did it change so drastically to become the biggest animal on Earth? Let's investigate. The fossilized remnants of Pakicetus were found in the mountains of Pakistan. During their time, this was a lush region with many freshwater riverbeds where these fuzzy little mammals would doggy paddle out to fish. Eye sockets near the top of the head and heavy bones to keep them submerged in shallow water probably made them good semi-aquatic hunters as well. As the supercontinent Pangaea broke apart, the gap between the emerging continents Laurasia and Gondwana filled with water, creating the shallow Tethys Sea. Fossils from the Eocene show creatures that adapted to life in the new environment. Shorter legs would have made them awkward guests on land, gracelessly hopping around like sea lions, but powerfully propelling this. You're lucky you don't. You're lucky you don't remember your early childhood. Your earliest memories will typically be from around the age of 3. Even though you likely formed memories before then, you can't access them. Why? Long-term memories are like paths in a forest, created by repeated footsteps that strengthen the trail. These paths are formed by nerve cells and accessed via the hippocampus. One theory is that in early childhood, you have the highest learning rate of your life, but your brain is still developing. New neurons are created, and to prevent information overload, brain cells prune excess connections. The paths are totally redrawn, compromising your earliest memories. But losing them is an essential part of rewiring your brain. However, your new paths grow strong as your hippocampus becomes fully operational, and around preschool age, something eventually clicks. Together with a growing vocabulary and stronger sense of self, you're ready to start making the memories you'll remember forever, like spending time with family or making your first. How does lightning work? How does lightning work? How does lightning work? Let's slow down time. Inside a thundercloud, soft hail bumps into snowflakes and gets negatively charged by snatching an electron from a snowflake. Turbulent winds carry the light snowflakes upwards, leaving the heavier hail below. Now the bottom of the cloud has many more electrons than it needs, and it really wants to get rid of them. An invisible street extends towards the ground, a channel of conductive air called a leader that scouts for an electron disposal site in small steps, branching occasionally. Meanwhile, small electric arms sprout from the positively charged ground, reaching for the leader. Their handshake is brutal. Electrons rush towards the contact point, creating a plasma highway of 50,000 degrees Celsius that runs up the leader into the cloud with 1/3 of the speed of light. This is what we see as a lightning bolt. The sudden heat generates a shock wave that we can hear as thunder. In a matter of milliseconds, up to 5 gigajoules of energy are transferred to the ground, enough to power an average American household for over a month. And all of this in just the blink of an eye. How does lightning work? Let's slow down.
If you were glad
Travel without spending. Travel. Travel without spending time or money. Try teleporting. Simply disappear from your boring daily routine and reappear at a beach on the other side of the globe in the blink of an eye. First, you step into this powerful scanner. It's so precise that it can even record the tiniest particles in your body. Now, hold tight. It will tickle a bit as the scanner breaks down your body into tiny atoms. On a computer, you're a 10 quetabyte data package, which is more than 150 million times larger than the yearly digital data output of all of humanity. Time to transmit your blueprint to the receiver device. With current satellite bandwidth, it would take 80,000 years to beam you over. If you want, you can book increased bandwidth that'll send you over in a second. We'll harness the complete power of a nearby star to sustain this transmission. The receiver is basically just a big 3D printer. It will take the U blueprint and spit out your new body. Enjoy your stay. By stepping into the device, you agree to our terms and conditions. You may suffer consciousness interruption or deletion. Client agrees to be destroyed and recreated. Travel. Do we all see the same colors? Do we all see the same? Do we all see the same colors? It depends. Do we mean color before or after we see it? Before we see it, color is basically light, a bunch of photons with different wavelengths. When light shines on an object, the photons bump into its atoms and, depending on their wavelengths, either get absorbed, transmitted, or bounce off. The wavelengths we receive are the same, but how we perceive them is different and starts in the back of your eyeballs. A thin layer of light-sensitive cells act like radio antennas. Roughly speaking, there are 3 types of these cells, which are tuned into the stations for red, green, and blue. When they detect a photon in their bandwidth, they send a signal to the brain, where it's translated into your very own version of that color. Every brain has to come up independently with how it renders each of the roughly 1 million colors humans can see. As soon as we try to describe how they look, feel, or taste to us, the results are pretty different. So even though we have names for some of them, it's unlikely that we all see the exact same set of colors. Do we all see the same? Imagine you have a ladder. Imagine you have a ladder. Imagine you have a ladder that is so tall it reaches all the way to space, high above Earth's atmosphere. What would happen if you climbed it and then just let go? Would you float right next to the ladder, like the astronauts on the space station? Would you immediately begin plummeting to the ground and fall to your death? The answer, whether you float or fall, actually depends on where you put your ladder. This is because the Earth is spinning. For example, picture a wheel. Every part on the wheel takes the same amount of time to go round, but the further parts of the wheel have to move in a bigger circle, which means they're actually going faster. Not only can 2 points on the same wheel move at different speeds, they have to move at different speeds or the wheel isn't doing its job. Think about that the next time you're in your car. The same is true for the Earth. The Earth's circumference at the equator is 40,000 kilometers, and since our planet rotates once every day, someone standing at the equator must be moving over 1,600 kilometers an hour. This is... Imagine Your parachute. Your parachute has failed and you'll hit the ground in 60 seconds. You're falling at around 190 kilometers an hour. Your best bet to slow down is increasing your air resistance by making an X shape. We're not going to lie to you, the odds aren't great, but here's how you could survive. Swamps, snow and trees may all help cushion your fall, though they all have downsides. Water's also not a terrible idea, but try to land bolt upright. It could maybe stop you getting knocked out by the impact and drowning. If you're landing in a city, look for a roof to slow your fall. You may end up sacrificing your legs, but it could protect your vital organs and boost your survival chances. Power lines can be surprisingly effective and really did save someone who fell from over 10,000 feet. But the best approach is getting your friends to catch you in a 30 square meter net, like the current record holder for the highest skydive without a parachute did. Still, you're better off skydiving the boring but much safer way with not one, but two parachutes. Your fail and you'll hit the ground in 60 seconds. You're falling at around 190 kilometers an hour. Mpox is an international emergency, but Mpox is an international emergency, but it won't be the next COVID. Some strains of Mpox kill around 3% of those infected, and cases have been reported globally. It spreads via contact with infected people and animals, causing flu-like symptoms and painful blisters. So how did we catch it? Well, the smallpox vaccine once also protected people against Mpox until the end of the vaccination program in Africa gave several forms of Mpox the chance to spread. The first outbreaks were caused by Clade 1A, which jumped from animals to humans but ran out of steam. But the more successful Clade 2 has infected over 100,000 people globally, while Clade 1B has now driven a surge in cases, especially in the DRC, and has spread to other countries. Mpox won't be the next COVID. There's very minimal risk of airborne transmission, so it's not as easy to pass on. But if we've learned one thing from COVID, it's the need to get tools and resources to countries on the front line. When infection is a plane ride away, prevention and containment are the smartest moves for all humanity. Mpox is an international emergency, but it won't be the next COVID. Won't be the next COVID. Some strains of why do puddles disappear but lakes don't? What Why do puddles disappear but lakes don't? Lakes are like giant puddles. They both drain and evaporate, but lakes take much longer to do so. If they stopped being refilled by rain and rivers, it'd take around 30 years for all the water in the Great Lakes to evaporate. Most lakes lose water to the ground, but how much depends on the type of lake bottom. A solid rock bottom can keep water sealed inside like a bowl. A soil bottom will lose more, but there's a catch. At some point, the soil reaches its saturation point where it can't absorb any more water and seepage slows down. Some actually refill from groundwater, aquifers and underground streams. Though lakes constantly lose and gain water, it can take a long time for it all to be replaced. Water flowing out of Lake Superior today might have first arrived almost 200 years ago, which is nothing compared to Antarctica's Lake Vostok, where water takes over 13,000 years to leave. After drilling through 4 kilometers of ice, you could enjoy a cocktail from the Ice Age. Why do puddle lakes are... This could be the perfect... This could be the perfect... This could be the perfect sofa, according to science. Mathematicians have spent over 50 years trying to find the magic formula for the sofa with the largest sitting area that can be moved along an L-shaped corridor in one piece without lifting it. At first, it sounds like an easily solvable puzzle, but in reality it's quite complicated. Square or semicircular sofas can get through the corridor, but they have barely any space to sit. A big rectangular couch has a large sitting area, but it may not fit. What about this couch shaped like an old-timey telephone? It has a nice big seating area and can be moved around a right-angle corner. If you sand off some parts and stretch others, you get an even bigger couch that still fits through the corridor. But is this the very best option? Well, the sofa problem is one of the unsolved problems of mathematics, and the exact value of the maximum sitting area is unknown. New computer simulations do suggest this sofa model is very close to having the biggest possible area, but is it the most comfortable? This could be the sofa. Your tattoos are in... Your tattoos are inside your immune system, literally. A tattoo is a dramatic battle between your immune system and the ink. On the scale of a human cell, it would look like skyscrapers punching holes into the skin, flooding the lower layers of the skin with ink, a tidal wave of chemicals. Understandably, your immune system is not amused and is put on high alert. Brave macrophages, your defensive cells, fight on your body's behalf and spray intruders with acid. But tattoo ink is made of metallic compounds that withstand these acid attacks. How will this battle end? Why do tattoos fade? And why does this show your immune system's relentless will to protect you? To find out, make sure you watch our newest video and let us get under your skin. Your tattoo hides your... Why does fentanyl feel so... Why does fentanyl... Why does fentanyl feel so good? Let us try it so you don't have to. Fentanyl reaches your brain in seconds and, like other opioids, binds to opioid receptors. It stops pain signals and also releases a flood of dopamine so the pain melts away as you slide into euphoria. But before it fully kicks in, it's already made you less sensitive to CO2, slowing your breathing and silencing your body's screams for oxygen. As it's up to 50 times stronger than heroin, it's hard to take a safe dose by eye. An overdose can happen so fast that bodies are found with the deadly needle still in the skin. And if you survive to become dependent, the only way you can feel joy or just fine is the drug, not the people you love, nothing. But coming off is torture, so you keep using. It numbs you and then it kills you. In 2022, there were more fentanyl deaths than all US military deaths since the 60s, including Vietnam. And as it's so cheap to make, it's now mixed with other drugs. You could end up taking it even if you didn't mean to. So be aware and stay safe out there. Why does fentanyl feel so good? Let good. Let us try it so you don't have to. Fentanyl reaches.
It goes like...
The sun is yellow, or is it? The sun is yellow, or the sun is yellow, or is it? You're used to seeing a happy yellow circle floating in a blue sky. But that's fake news. If you placed a prism in a sunbeam in space, you'd see that the sun radiates light in every color of the visible spectrum. If these colors were paints mixed together, you'd get black. But with light, mixing them produces white, the true color of sunlight. So why does it look yellow to us? Let's replace the prism with a slice of Earth's atmosphere. Here, nitrogen and oxygen molecules scatter sunlight in all directions. This makes our sky blue, as the blue light, with shorter wavelengths, scatters more than red light. If scattering didn't happen, the sky would always be a transparent window to the stars. But because the sky has taken some of the blue, sunlight appears yellow to us. The effect is strongest at sunrise and sunset, when there's more atmosphere between you and the sun, making even red light scatter and dyeing the sky orange and red. Light can also be scattered by things like water vapor and salt particles, making ocean sunsets even more amazing. The sun is yellow, or is it? You're used to seeing a happy yellow circle. Can our universe destroy itself? Can our universe destroy itself? Everything in the universe strives to be in the most stable state possible. For example, a ball on top of a hill is in an unstable state. When pushed, it will roll downhill, lose its potential energy, and end up in a stable ground state. The same principle applies to quantum fields, which are fundamental concepts in quantum physics and exist throughout our entire universe. They want to be in the most stable state as well. However, one quantum field, the Higgs field, might not yet be in the state of lowest possible energy. Imagine a piece of cloth soaked in gasoline. All it needs is a spark to catch fire. Hypothetically, this Higgs field could be disturbed so that it falls into a more stable state. This would look like a bubble growing at the speed of light, annihilating everything in its path, destroying the entire universe as we know it. But don't panic. A more stable Higgs field that destroys everything is just a theory. There's a lot about particle and quantum physics we still don't know, but that won't stop us from wondering, can our universe destroy itself? Nine languages die. Nine languages die every year. We humans speak around 7,000 languages, but due to things like globalization and urbanization, we might lose 1/5 of them by the end of the century. Languages reflect our cultural identity and heritage. They're as diverse as humans are. India, for example, has over 500 living languages. Indonesia has around 700. For India, this is due to the rise and fall of different empires and historic fragmentation into smaller kingdoms, while Indonesia's story revolves around trade and geography, an archipelago with many islands, each with its own history, influences, and native languages. Each of these reflect cultural differences and the beautifully complex history of communities. That's why when a language dies, we lose a lot more than just words. But the death of languages isn't inevitable. We can still save them. Government recognition, teaching endangered languages in schools, and actually using them in daily life, from podcasts to memes, can all help save a language from extinction. A coin A coin-sized black hole appears before you. Now what? If it had the mass of a 5-gram coin, it would be incredibly tiny, much smaller than an atom. This miniature black hole would evaporate very rapidly due to Hawking radiation, converting its 5 grams of mass into 450 terajoules of energy. This results in an explosion larger than the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined. In this scenario, you would definitely die. But if the black hole had the diameter of a common coin, then it would actually have slightly more mass than the Earth. This larger black hole would exert a gravitational force quadrillions of times stronger than Earth's. The tidal forces would tear you apart from head to toe, and you'd be sucked into the black hole like spaghetti. It would also consume the entire planet until all that was left was a scattered disk of hot rock orbiting the black hole. So not only do you die, but the entire planet gets eaten by the black hole as well. In a nutshell, just try to not get yourself into a situation where a coins. Our brains are not special, but our brains are not Our brains are not special, but humans are. Why? Human brains are smart, but they're built the same way as all the other mammalian brains, from mice to whales. In fact, our human neurons are so similar to rats' neurons, they can fit right into their brains. What we do have is a lot of neurons for our body size, like a supercharged V8 engine squeezed into a hatchback. That's what evolution did with our heads. Humans make full use of that advantage to get the most thinking neurons possible on board. There are bigger brains with even more neurons, like in elephants. They have 3 times more neurons than us, but 97.5% of those neurons are simply needed to handle their large bodies. We get to use our neurons for thinking instead. So our intelligence is simply the result of having a lot more thinking power. A resource we've learned to use well, but nothing more special. That's both fascinating and humbling. Our brains are not humans are. From the From the creators of Dorfromantik and Kurzgesagt comes a new game in space. Meet the Starbirds. Help them claim nearby asteroids. You'll need to build stuff. You'll need to gather stuff. You'll need to connect stuff to other stuff to produce even more stuff. To advance your technology and reach for the stars. Explore countless asteroids. They're packed with resources and come in all shapes and sizes. Stay curious. You never know what you may find. Starbirds, coming to a solar system near you. Wishlist now on Steam.
Pack an order.
Shadows can be faster than shadows. Shadows can be faster than light, but nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Isn't that what Einstein's theory of relativity came down to? Was he wrong? Let's do a thought experiment. Point a flashlight at the moon. Hold your finger into the beam to cast a shadow. Move your finger from left to right. If your flashlight was really powerful, you would see your finger's shadow moving over the moon as fast as it moves across the lens. That shadow is moving faster than the speed of light. How can that be? Well, the trick is that our shadow is not a moving object. That movement is an illusion, the result of following different shadows created by different photons along a certain path. Those photons are physical objects that are indeed traveling to the speed of light, but Einstein's speed limit does not apply to the illusions of movement they can create. Nothing is faster than light is therefore correct. We just have to make sure what we're talking about. But if you ask a ninja, he might still insist that shadows So how old? So how old can you get? When people die of old age, they really die from age-related diseases like heart issues, cancer, or respiratory diseases. Sadly, most of them can't be cured today, but let's assume for a minute that they could be in the near future. As soon as an organ fails, we could replace it and live on for as long as we wanted, right? Here's the bad news. There's a passionate scientific debate around whether or not there's a limit to the human lifespan. Scientists currently place this limit around 120 years and think it's linked to human biochemistry. When we age, the DNA in our cells loses its ability to multiply, which limits the amount of damage our bodies can repair. So what's the good news? Science has made huge progress in aging research and found many promising tools that might slow, stop, or reverse aging. And without aging, death might be postponed much longer, pushing our limit to 200 years without any trouble. To live even longer, we'd have to change our entire biochemistry. But then, would we still be human? So can you get when people